Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we journeying back in time to one of the most transformative events in American history, the California Gold Rush. It was a period of incredible dreams, immense wealth, and devastating hardship. So, grab your pickaxe and pan, and let's dig into the real story. Our story begins on a quiet morning, January 24, 1848. A carpenter named James W. Marshall was overseeing the construction of a sawmill for his boss, John Sutter, along the American River near Coloma, California. As he inspected the water channel, something shiny caught his eye. He picked it up. It was a small, glittering nugget, gold. At first, Sutter and Marshall tried to keep the discovery a secret. They knew that if word got out, their quiet life would be over. But you know how secrets are, they have a way of spreading. A local merchant, Sam Brannan, got wind of the discovery. But instead of rushing to the river with a pan, he had a different idea. He started buying up every pickaxe, shovel, and pan he could find. Then he ran through the streets of San Francisco holding a bottle full of gold dust, shouting, "Gold, gold, gold" from the American River. Brannan's dramatic announcement worked. The news spread like wildfire. Local newspapers picked up the story, and soon the entire nation was gripped by gold fever. President James K. Polk even confirmed the discovery in a speech to Congress in December 1848. That was the final spark. The rush was on. People from all over the United States, and indeed the world, dropped everything. Farmers left their fields, clerks abandoned their desks, and sailors jumped ship. They were all heading to California. These prospectors became known as the 49ers, named for the year 1849 when the migration truly exploded. Getting to California was an epic adventure in itself. There were three main routes, and none of them were easy. The fastest, but most expensive, was by sea. You could sail from the East Coast all the way around the tip of South America at Cape Horn. This journey took for 8 months and was plagued by storms, disease, and boredom. A slightly shorter sea route involved sailing to Panama, trekking through the dense, malaria-infested jungle to the Pacific side, and then waiting for another ship to take you up to San Francisco. Many got sick or were stranded 4 months waiting for a boat. The third route was overland, the famous Oregon-California Trail. This was a grueling 2,000-mile journey across prairies, deserts, and mountains. Families packed their lives into covered wagons and faced cholera outbreaks, river crossings, and the constant threat of running out of food and water. The dream of gold was so powerful that hundreds of thousands were willing to risk everything just for a chance to strike it rich. When the 49ers finally arrived in California, they found a chaotic, lawless, and rapidly changing world. San Francisco, which had been a tiny settlement of a few hundred people, exploded into a bustling city of over 30,000 in just a couple of years. Tents and hastily built wooden shacks lined the muddy streets. Prices were astronomical. A single egg could cost the equivalent of $25 today, and a simple room could be hundreds. People like Sam Brannan, the guy who first shouted about gold, became millionaires not by finding gold, but by selling supplies to the miners. Life in the mining camps was brutal. Miners worked from sunup to sundown, standing in ice-cold river water, swishing gravel and sand in a pan. This was called placer mining. You'd scoop up dirt from the riverbed, add water, and swirl it around. The lighter sand would wash away, and hopefully the heavier gold flakes and nuggets would be left at the bottom. It was back-breaking work. The camps themselves were rough places. They were mostly filled with young men far from home and family. The diet was terrible, often just beans, bacon, and hard biscuits. Scurvy and other diseases were rampant due to poor nutrition and sanitation. Loneliness and disappointment were constant companions. Fights were common, and with no real law enforcement, justice was often swift and informal. For every story of a lucky miner who struck a bonanza and pulled thousands of dollars of gold out of the ground in a day, there were tens of thousands who found nothing but dirt. The reality was that most 49ers barely made enough to cover their exorbitant living expenses. Many went home broke, their dreams shattered. The phrase "seeing the elephant" became popular, meaning they had faced the hardship and survived, but were disillusioned by the experience. The gold rush also had a darker side. The massive influx of settlers had a devastating impact on the native populations of California. Before the rush, there were about 150,000 Native Americans in the region. Within 2 decades, that number plummeted to around 30,000 due to disease, starvation, and outright violence from the miners who saw them as obstacles. The environment was also ravaged. Rivers were dammed and diverted, and hillsides were blasted away with high-pressure water cannons in a new technique called hydraulic mining, choking the rivers with sediment and destroying ecosystems. The gold rush also brought a wave of international migrants. People came from China, Mexico, Chile, Australia, and Europe, all hoping for a piece of the California dream. This created one of the most diverse societies in the world at the time. However, it also led to intense racial tensions. Foreign miners, especially the Chinese and Latin Americans, were often met with hostility and violence. California passed a foreign miners' tax, specifically designed to drive them out of the gold fields. Despite the hardship, the gold rush fundamentally transformed California and the United States. The massive influx of people accelerated California's path to statehood, which it achieved in 1850. The wealth extracted from the ground helped finance the Union's victory in the Civil War a decade later. It spurred the development of new technologies, funded the creation of the Transcontinental Railroad, and cemented the idea of the American dream, the belief that anyone, through hard work and a bit of luck, could achieve immense wealth. The individual gold panner, the 49er, eventually became a thing of the past. As the easy-to-reach surface gold disappeared, mining became an industrial operation. Large companies with heavy machinery took over, leaving little room for the lone prospector with his pan. By the mid-1850s, the main rush was over, though gold mining continued for decades. So, the California Gold Rush was a story of stark contrasts. It was a time of incredible optimism and crushing despair, of fortunes made and lives lost. It built cities, created a state, and helped define a nation's identity. But it also came at a tremendous human and environmental cost. It's a powerful reminder that behind every great dream, there's often a story of immense hardship. What do you think is the most fascinating part of the gold rush? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more historical deep dives. See you next time.